This is Gone Racin, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
I can't with that thing. Wyatt is way too excited with that green flag today. Welcome into Gone Racin, my friends. I, of course, am hanging out. Brendan Gaughan hanging out in the studio. Oh, now he's on. Now he's doing it all calm. There you go. Brendan Gaughan in studio, the fabulous VSiN studio at the South Point. Mr. Jeffrey Motley is out in Nashville Vegas this week, hanging out at one of the many tracks that SMI sends my good buddy Mr. Motley all around the country to. And Mr. Motley, I hear we have a better security guard today.
Oh, we do. I've got a trunk that's about 50 pounds right behind me up against the door, and I have the wheels locked. So if somebody tries to open it, it ain't open.
It ain't happening. Well, and I'm breaking our rule today. Normally we always wear South Point for 100 stuff, but, with what just happened, I know it's a racing show, but I got to have a little VGK Stanley Cup champions on today.
Yeah, I have my VGK hat with me on this trip, and the number of people that I have seen this week, it says, "Oh, I loved your hockey team. That was fun." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I'm jealous. You guys already got your stuff. Mine's still waiting to get processed.
No. I don't have my championship stuff. I just have a Golden Knights hat. My championship stuff is still in the way. Yeah, Brendan probably waited in line for 3 hours at the Arsenal to get his. I just go online and order mine and wait for the UPS guy to deliver it.
No, I wasn't there. The Rochelle Rice and Nick Rice took my seats, and for giving them seats to Game 5 of the Stanley Cup, they brought me back a hat. So thank you.
I wondered how Rochelle got such good seats. I saw her Facebook post, and I'm like, wow, Rochelle knows somebody tonight.
But I was in Honduras scuba diving with my boys, so it was a great time to have an off week for us. But let's get back to what we're talking about, Mr. Motley, and of course we got to wrap up everything that was Sonoma. Little bit of a I'm not going to call it a snooze fest. It's just I love road racing, right? I mean, so I love road racing. Just didn't have a lot of the strategy plays, didn't have a lot of the stuff. Had a massive mistake by old Denny Hamlin. Listening to everybody talk about it, I am kind of chuckling. Hitting the driver's left wall before the start-finish line, which, Jeff, we've been doing this a long time. I don't remember anybody ever hitting that with it not having, being pushed into it or something breaking, or it was kind of
I certainly haven't seen it in the Cup race. We might have had an ARCA guy or two, scrape that thing. But,
ARCA guys, come on, that don't count. We've had them do everything.
Last year in the truck race, we had two guys go head on into the wall in turn one after the start-finish line, and that was a hard hit. In fact, we had to stop the race and get the wall fixed. But I've never seen a guy misjudge turn 12 and scrape the inside wall like that before.
Not without help. And that pissed me off because I had Denny to win, of course, win my group. And so Denny finishing dead last on the field, that was not a good thing for me. Thank you, Denny.
There's something funny about you actually picking Denny to win and then him crash.
That's what I'm saying. I pick him, and I never pick him, and I pick him, and then he finishes dead. Doesn't just finishes DFL on the field. Like, come on. You got to be kidding me. But who did win the race was our good buddy Martin Truex Jr. Martin dominated the show. I mean, absolutely did what Martin Truex Jr. was doing a couple years ago at road races, led 51 of the 110 laps. He was 30-1 to win. We talked about that. 30-1 to win. And we talked about it like, man, should we bet this? But I think that, first of all, that's a former Sprint NASCAR Cup champion at a road course where he dominated road courses 3 years ago, 4 years, something like that, got right before pandemic-ish. And he was 30-1, plus 850 for a top three, almost double-digit top three, 275 and 300 for Toyota, Group E 275, Toyota 300. What 30-1, Jeff? Talk about no respect. I mean, Rodney Dangerfield right here, and just putting it on him.
Well, you started the no respect thing with him when you said he was going to be the most disappointing driver this year. But I'll tell you, he's back. He really is. And, the last 10 laps of the race, I'm standing in victory lane. And the victory lane we have at Sonoma now, it's not like probably what you remember. We actually set it up on the drag strip right across from the start-finish line. So you can watch those cars come down the hill through the S's. And I mean, watching Truex come through the S's, it was literally like his car was on a rail. He was so smooth, same line every time, never bobbled. Nobody else came down through the S's except for maybe Kyle Busch anywhere close to the way that Martin was coming down through those S's. And I'm just sitting here watching that car, and I'm thinking, if something crazy doesn't happen, there's no way he's not winning this race.
Well, I mean, 30-1, and this is his fourth win at Sonoma. Fourth win. He won it 2013, 2018, 2019, and then this one, of course. fourth win, second win this season, not fourth. Fourth time at Sonoma.
That's 4 wins in 10 races. I mean, that's.
Can the pit crew get a mulligan on their pick from 2 weeks ago?
A mullet? Oh, what do we just go ahead and repick now?
I'm so disappointed. I was looking at it, I'm like, dang, Truex is 30-1, and he's actually. I'm sick about that one.
That was dude, 30-1. I mean, we talked about it. I gave you stats on him last time. I mean, he was great we said how great he was at Sonoma. It's just, 30-1, and yeah, I hope somebody jumped on that in a big way and was able to win on that, because we did not jump on it here. We just talked about it. One little thing, we all were high on Tyler Reddick, of course, right? Tyler was one of the Toyotas that we thought might win the race. Had an interesting little penalty there, Jeff, and let's start off by saying Tyler did the right thing. So
he did the right thing, and I still don't think he should have been penalized.
He didn't really short course. Like, he didn't shortcut the course.
He long coursed.
Yes.
He long coursed.
He did a corner twice.
He never got to the start-finish line. So to me, the fact he never got to the start-finish line and he cut through the opening there, turn 11, to go get into the pits, I just don't understand why that
I listened to NASCAR's explanation. Now, they said one thing right. The rule is you can't do that. So, okay, period, you can't just cut the island back across the island and get to pit road. That is shortcutting to get back to pit road, which
I guess that's the whole thing, because once you miss the opening to pit road, in every other racetrack, you're going to have to go all the way around. You don't get to turn around and drive backwards down pit road without getting a penalty. So I understand that.
But he didn't short course the course. It wasn't like we're thinking he was able to gain a lap on the field or anything. And their explanation,
Rosie Ruiz in the Boston Marathon.
Yeah. And their explanation though is that he gained all this, and I'm like, whoa, he didn't gain anything. The rule is you can't just blow by it and make it around. But it was a brilliant move on his part to at least salvage his race car, not destroy it, to at least get back to pit road, not piss off the whole field and leave debris everywhere. And then these things with the way they are, no caution, and the way they are, he'll get stuck somewhere, where it won't be able to keep driving. So great job on him to turn around and come back. But, it was one of those amusing parts to us that we're like, that was a great move, but he got a penalty for it.
Poor Wyatt is sitting there saying, "Who the heck is Rosie Ruiz?"
No, I know that one. The lady that cheated the Boston. Yeah, I know that story.
Okay,
that's not an Earl Ross nugget.
It's not that, pretty close that he knew the name off the top of his head like that. Pretty Earl Rossian.
It's amazing. That woman is synonymous with cheating on a race course.
So let's get to the rest of the top 10. Kyle Busch was second at a plus 275. Joey Logano, once again, another one that we kind of said, Joey Logano plus 900 for a top 3. Pretty big number there. Chris Buescher, another road course run. We talked about Chris Buescher a lot on the show. There he is with another top 10. The Dinger with a good run. Chase Elliott, we talked, wasn't good all day. Just did pit strategy, got there. The Dinger. Michael McDowell still showing his road course chops. And then there's
good all day.
Yep.
Good all day, Michael McDowell was.
So, and then there's the perennials. Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, 8, 9, 10. Not where they accustomed running, but 8, 9, 10. So that kind of puts a little bow on Sonoma. One big piece of news we need to at least get to, just real quick, Jeff. Not a shocker. Most news in NASCAR, of course, is the worst kept secrets in the world. But Josh Berry officially replacing Kevin Harvick next year at Stewart-Haas Racing. Big loss to me for the Hendrick camp, for the Chevrolet camp. Josh has done a pretty darn good job, even though he got to start late in his career. Dale Jr. really did a nice job of mentoring him, and if I know Dale, he's not mad that he's leaving. He's happy he's getting a great opportunity.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. And I think what's going to be interesting going forward, he's been like the perennial fill-in guy for Chase Elliott, for Alex Bowman. So if we have a Hendrick driver get hurt the rest of the year, now that we know he's going to the Ford camp, I'm going to say he's not the fill-in driver.
Well, you already had Corey LaJoie. Remember, they already put Corey LaJoie in for Alex Bowman the 1 week. So we already know that they already knew this was coming, so they had already pushed him back as the fill-in guy.
But that situation was a little different because Josh Berry was running the Xfinity car in Portland that weekend, so he really didn't have an opportunity. He couldn't run the Cup car in St. Louis, so a little bit different there. So, but no, great for him, and he gets to keep Rodney Childers as his crew chief, which I think will be huge to have. I mean, I'm not saying he's a young driver, but look, the Cup Series is still relatively new to him. To have a veteran crew chief like Rodney Childers come in can only be a positive.
Nope. let's get to our season standings real quick. And my 17 race winner theory is it's looking more difficult, but not impossible. So far we're at 10 winners with still what was this one? We still got 9 races to go. So, or 10 races to go. So we still got we still had a shot, but we're going to need some stuff. William Byron still your playoff standings leader. Kyle Busch right there. But that cut line, man, Jeff, we keep talking about it. That cut line is awfully tight, man. It is going to be so much fun for us as fans. It's going to be so much fun watching this cut line come into play as the season winds down.
You're right. And there's a guy, Alex Bowman, who missed those races. He's up there. And Truex, I think, went from 6th in the actual point standings to 1st in points just by winning at Sonoma. It just shows how tight it is at the top right now.
Yep. And then let's talk about our little upcoming schedule right here. We got, of course, you're in Nashville this weekend. We got the Chicago, the big street course race. Going to be a lot of fun watching them go around the streets of Chicago. I hope there's many Blues Brothers references as they do it. Quaker State 400 in Atlanta after that. Then Loudon, New Hampshire for we already discussed the Crayon 301, not the Crayola Crayon.
Not the Crayola.
Yes.
301.
And then, of course, Pocono for the Pocono 400, one of my old favorite courses with of course, the Mattiolis and the Rose family that are such great people up there.
I'm excited to see what next week brings when we get to that street course in Chicago. It's going to be interesting, going to be different. We'll see what happens. Yep.
So when we come back, we'll talk all things Nashville Superspeedway, the 1.3-mile concrete oval, which tough on tires, tough on drivers. It's a fun place. I used to love racing there in the truck, so I'm excited the Cups guys are there, and we'll get you the odds to win when we return.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
And the green flag is back in the air after the yellow flag, of course, when we go to break. Brendan Gaughan hanging out in studio, Mr. Motley hanging out in Nashville. And we are talking Nashville, getting ready to talk about the race here at Nashville. The track itself is a 1.3 mile. We used to call it 1 1/4, so it's 1 1/3 actually. It's a concrete oval, which is unique in our sport. Race, of course, Sunday afternoon, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Chase Elliott, your winner last year. And Jeff, this track, it has no equal, honestly. Dover is the only place that I would say a little bit, because the amount of grip the Goodyear tires have going into the corner with the concrete, it's amazing how much grip this place has. But there's no 1.5 miles, no Gateway, no Phoenix. There's no banking there. Nashville's got a bunch of banking, concrete, and you absolutely rail this place. It is phenomenal to drive.
Yeah, but it's not banking like Dover either, though. So it's kind of like, you're right. It's very unique. You can probably find elements of about 5 or 6 different racetracks on the circuit that we race on here. The concrete, like you said, very similar to Dover. The 1.3, very similar to a Gateway or a Darlington, but the actual layout, it's kind of shaped like a Charlotte, a Texas, so or even a Vegas or a Kansas. So just a little different length and distance there. So yeah, I think you can put a lot of elements of a lot of different racetracks into this.
Yeah, that concrete though makes it where it's just its own animal. It's so much fun to race there. Last year, of course, Chase Elliott was your winner. So maybe this is the week we talk about Chase getting off the schneid of the wins. And Kurt Busch was second place, not Kyle Busch. So we definitely don't have that Busch brother. And we were doing some stats during the break, Jeff. And Kurt Busch, one of the best at Nashville. Kyle Busch, so far his stats don't look very good, but I think that may change with old RCR.
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't underestimate Kyle Busch in this race. I think he's certainly going to be one of the guys to beat coming into this thing. So he's a guy I think when we start looking at the odds, we probably might see a decent number on him. And, boy, he might be hard to pass up.
So let's get into the odds to win this race. And we will start off with our favorite right now is Kyle Larson. That doesn't surprise anybody, I think. No shocker there. Kyle Larson is your favorite to win, plus 550. Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, all 750s. William Byron, Chase Elliott, 850s. Ryan Blaney, 900. Then double digits. Ross Chastain, 11-1. Christopher Bell, 12. Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, 16. Kevin Harvick, 18. Bubba Wallace, 22. Alex Bowman, 30. And Brad Keselowski, 35. Ty Gibbs ending out the front page, 45-1. Jeff, there is a stat, though, about Kyle, about the winner of this race of Nashville, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, if you remember the first year of it, he actually won the race and was disqualified. So he finished. I don't know if you remember what he was running at the end. He ended up finishing 39th. They did give him a penalty post race. So Chase Elliott, pretty darn good. I've been on that Chase Elliott bandwagon saying, Chase is going to win again. You know that he's going to get a W before the playoffs start. This, to me, at 850, I think I may have to take a shot on a race winner, and it may have to be Chase Elliott.
Well, you're right. 2 checkered flags at Nashville, and Chase Elliott has taken both checkered flags. That's certainly something worth looking at. It just seems this year we haven't seen the same Chase Elliott. I mean, I know we had the injury, but even before the injury, I'm not sure that we're seeing the same Chase Elliott yet this year. So I think it's probably a fair number on him to put him at plus 850. One thing we also didn't mention that's different about this race this year, the first time it's going to be run at night. This was a day race the last couple of years, so they moved it to night. NBC wants it in prime time for their first race of the year. So I think that's probably going to be a little bit of a factor too for these teams.
So he just to reiterate, he actually didn't win the race. He finished 13th, but he was leading the race, and he had 5 loose lug nuts, which is why they penalized him all the way to the back.
That's right. That's right.
He had the lead. He won stage 1. He was leading the most laps, or Larson was leading, but he led the second most laps, was right up there in the end, and then had the loose lug nuts and faded back, and that was what it was. So, but 850 for Chase Elliott, I like that. And look, Kevin Harvick, I'm digging into the stats here. Kevin Harvick, just announced his retirement, raced here, in Xfinity back in the day, got some laps here, average finish 7.5 in the 2 races, got one top 5, 2 top 10s in the 2 races here. That 18-1, could we see these huge numbers off of former Cup Series champions 2 weeks in a row?
Well, I think that's possible, and I think another guy sitting there is Joey Logano at 16-1. I mean, look, these are the kind of tracks that you just expect Joey Logano to be there at the end. Now, I know sometimes he's either been out to lunch or he's been, feasting on everybody else. But Joey Logano at 16-1, I think, is another former champion that's worth taking a look at.
Yep. Let's get to the second page of the odds here real quick, and we lead off with still a conundrum for me. Daniel Suarez is 55-1. Then huge drop off after Daniel. Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chris Buescher, all 90-1. How about this for some guys? Chase Briscoe, Austin Dillon, Eric Almirola, 100s. And then Eric Jones and Austin Cindric, 150. Austin Cindric finished 7th in this race last year. Kind of surprised they have him that far of a long shot. I mean, I can't say that he's that far off.
Well, I think part of it is, what did we talk about? What have you done for me lately? Cindric hasn't really been very good this year. And I told you, if you look at last year's top 10, you look at the top 10 the year before that, we haven't really seen a lot of upset names. Like I said, Cindric finishing 7th was probably the only name in the top 10 that might have surprised you a little bit last year. But again, last year he had already won the Daytona 500, so he had a little bit more momentum last year. So I just think Nashville is one of those racetracks that we just don't see a big upset come out of the blue and have a good run.
Daniel Suarez, he finished first year, had a lot of experience in trucks and Xfinity here, finished 7th. And then if you look at how he did last year, 15th, I don't know, 55-1. There's something about Trackhouse is running so good and he's just running so middle of the road. I don't understand Daniel Suarez is a great race car driver. I'm not sure what's going on right there.
Well, and honestly, I think maybe the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's probably been a little bit better than Chastain. I mean, I think with the whole, if you take the whole season as a whole, Chastain's having a better year. Clearly, you look at the points, you look where he is. But neither one of them have been to victory lane. I just feel like Daniel's getting a little bit better right now.
I do too, and that's 55-1. Probably might talk about him a little more when we do top 3s, and let's get into those. Kyle Larson is your favorite, of course. His top 3 plus 155 on DraftKings. Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin are all plus 200. William Byron, Chase Elliott are 240s. Ryan Blaney 250. Ross Chastain 300. Christopher Bell's there at 400. Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano 450s. Kevin Harvick 550. Bubba Wallace 600, and then double digits start with Alex Bowman, Brad Kay, and Ty Gibbs, all at 10-1.
There's one guy we haven't talked about, Brendan, and I know he doesn't necessarily have the greatest numbers at Nashville, but the guy's been really good all year, and that's William Byron. We didn't talk about him to win. We had a top 3, a plus 240. Byron is there every week on these similar type layout racetracks.
Well, and he's got a third and then a 35th. His 35th was, and let's see, let me check what that was.
I guarantee he wasn't the 35th fastest car on the racetrack.
No, that's why I'm going back to see what it said. So, yeah, he was 40 laps down, so he had something happen. Doesn't say what, but he was 40 laps down, but he was top 10 the year before. So I like that. And how about Alex Bowman way down there at 10-1? I mean, look, Bowman, all these Hendrick cars at this type of place, they do run pretty darn well. So I can't say I dislike that right there.
No, I mean, I think any of those guys, and we've also seen a great resurgence over this year in the Roush Fenway cars. So even a Brad Keselowski or a Chris Buescher, both of those guys are capable of clicking off a top 3 any week.
Let's get to the second page real quick, and we got Daniel Suarez 12-1. There's my number that I was looking at for there. That's a hell of a number for a top 3, and I think Suarez could possibly do that here. Then you got a big drop off: Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, Austin Dillon, Eric Almirola, all 22-1. Eric Jones and Austin Cindric 40-1. Dinger 55. Eric Almirola, fourth place finisher. Fourth place finish.
You like Almirola better than Buescher for a top 3? Because I think Buescher 22-1 is worth taking a look at as well.
I do. I'm just looking at stats of what they've done the last 2 years. Eric Almirola has been pretty stout the last 2 years here. He's not terrible. I mean, he has a top 10 with top 5 with a fourth place finish. Average finish 10.5. That's not a bad number for him on a top 3 number way down there. If you want to take that flyer at 22-1, I'm betting you if you go to DraftKings, find a top 10 number, he's still probably got a double-digit top 10, even maybe 850 or something like that. So I like that Eric Almirola at least for a top 10 if you can find it.
The other wild card in there to me, because he always does it once or twice a year, Justin Haley. Guy comes in there and he throws that Hail Mary and he ends up getting the top 3. I think he did it twice last year. I mean, Justin Haley's 80-1, and I don't know why. This just seemed like one of those kind of tracks where it just wouldn't shock me to see a guy like him pop up around the top 5 before the race is over.
Well, and the name we blew over pretty quickly was Tyler Reddick twice. I mean, Tyler Reddick to win or as a top 3. As a top 3, Tyler's 450. I mean, Tyler Reddick is pretty stout every place we kind of go. This kind of fits in his wheelhouse.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, I would not sell him short at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's some numbers here for the top 3s. It's going to be difficult for me in the top 3s. I may have to focus on the head-to-head battles because I've been whooping y'all's butt this year, basically because of head-to-head. So we'll get to those when we come back in the next segment.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Green flag is back out for Wyatt while I do the podcast read, which is want to rewatch any part of today's show or any past show for that matter. Check out Gone Racin's podcast. It's free and available now at VSiN.com/podcast or wherever you get your podcasts. Give you all the latest news, odds, and everything you need to know to head straight to the betting counter for each and every NASCAR race. While you're there, catch up on every VSiN show as well. VSiN.com/podcasts. And the black flag is now out for Brendan Gaughan. Yeah, there it is. There's my black flag. Welcome back in.
Like I said, this is the best thing that we've bought at VSiN. I have so much fun with these.
Black flag. I got a black flag before we went to the break because Wyatt was saying that it was very uncalled for that I took a dig on how bad I've been kicking y'all's butt this year in the series in the Gone Racin betting pool, and then I got the black flag because I did not have the read right in front of me, ready to go. So
karma.
Double black flags. That's the black flag with the white stripe. They're parking me a lap.
But Brendan, I'm actually gonna defend you here. I think if you're kicking everybody's butt, then it's up to us to get more races right. So I don't ever have a problem when somebody runs up the score. To me, it's the other team's job to stop them. So no, look, I say, look, you're kicking our butt. We kicked your butt last year.
Yes,
we gave you so much grief last year. I mean, the freaking pit crew even created their own comic strip after the way
whoa.
They did.
It was an entertainment.
I forgot about that.
Are you telling me that not taunting?
Yeah.
No, it was basking in the glory of how well we did last year. I blame Harrison Burton, Phoenix, for bringing out that caution because we had Kevin Harvick. He was going to win the race. You know what? It's on you, Harrison.
It's on yours.
They thought they were like Ronda Rousey, John Cena, and Hulk Hogan all rolled
yeah, that's
into
right.
one.
And we noticed we haven't seen that in weeks.
No, and the last one we had bandages all over.
Don't worry, we got time. We got like 20 races left.
Okay.
Maybe.
Ish. That's a technical term, by the way. All right, let's get to our head-to-heads, and we start off there. There are a couple head-to-heads here that, first of all, I really, really look at and like. This is of course, from the Westgate is where we get our head-to-head matchups. And Jeff, right off the bat, I understand it's against our race favorite Kyle Larson, but you're telling me Kyle Busch in a head-to-head matchup is getting 135 to Kyle Larson and getting 115 to William Byron. Those two just leap out the page at me. Kyle Busch with that big of a number in a head-to-head?
Well, and Kyle Larson has been so feast or famine. He either wins or somebody crashes him out of the race, or he crashes himself out of the race. So, no, I like that one. I think that number is the Kyle Busch one is the one I think I really like the most comparing those. But yeah, plus 135, that's a pretty big number.
The other one I look at is maybe I'm going with my heart here a little bit, but
what has happened to Wyatt, by the way? I mean, see, I'm looking at him on my screen, and I mean, literally, he's just.
We'll tell you at the break what happened. He's looking at that. Yeah, let's just keep going with the head-to-heads right now. At
least there's not an imposter standing behind me like it was last week.
No, this one's pretty good. Kevin Harvick is plus 110. I'm looking at stats. Ryan Blaney has one bad race because he had an accident in last year's race. He was really good the year before, third in the stages, third in the race, led no laps. Harvick has been good both years here. I don't know if I'm going head or heart, but plus 110 in a head-to-head matchup with Kevin Harvick against Ryan Blaney, I kind of like that too.
I think you're reading the wrong Ryan Blaney line, though. I love the plus 115 against Denny Hamlin. I really do like that one because you talked about how well Blaney has run there. Look, we know Denny's another kind of a feast or famine guy, and I just think Blaney, he looks like he's running better. He's got a win under his belt now. I think that's probably giving him a little bit of confidence. I like Ryan Blaney at the plus 115 against Denny more than I do Kevin against Ryan Blaney.
I can't argue that. I think I'm doing a little bit of heart right there with the announcement that just came out with Harvick and all that stuff, and so maybe I'm reading into that too much. But the two Kyle Busches, I do like both of those, and those are pretty darn good looking to me. I think I'm going to have to jump on at least one of those. Let's get into our group matchups. And Motley, there's some fun numbers in the groups this week. There are some really big odds and some interesting names around the groups here. Let's start with Group A. Kyle Larson, your favorite at 240, William Byron 265, Martin Truex Jr. 290, and Chase Elliott 295. That would be Chase Elliott, last year's winner of this race, the year before the guy that led the second most laps in this race at 295 in Group A.
Yeah, I don't really like Group A. Look, you say, okay, Larson and Byron have been the two best drivers all year long. Truex with a tremendous amount of confidence. Chase Elliott, the defending winner of this race. I mean, you can make a case for all four of those guys so much. I just think this one's a hard one to handicap. I mean, if you're looking for the long shots, maybe it's Elliott and Truex, but I'm just telling you, I don't think this is the same Chase Elliott this year that we've seen over the last few years. Truex is the one that might be able to surprise somebody and actually come out of this group if you're looking for a long shot, but I'm kind of feeling like staying away from it.
Well, let me give you another stat about Truex. I said the only track to me that this kind of relates to is Dover, right? The concrete monster. Guess who?
One of his hometown tracks.
Oh, Nashville's one of his hometown tracks. Come on, it's still still east of the Colorado River. So Martin Truex Jr. remember won Dover. I mean, had a hell of a race at Dover too. So remember that was the weekend of the Truexes. Ryan got his first win. Martin got back off the schneid. So 290. I like the two bottom guys there. Like you said, Larson. We know Larson's always fast, and then either he wins or he ends up getting wrecked out by Ross Chastain and finishing 35th. So 290. I kind of like that a lot. I don't like those two dogs in Group A.
I think if I'm going to go anybody, I would go Truex if I'm looking to try to get some value there. I do like that one.
Gotcha. Let's go into Group B, and you got the guy you just talked about, Denny Hamlin at plus 260, Kyle Busch 265, Christopher Bell and Ross Chastain 280s. This one, to me, I mean, Ross Chastain, second in the 2 races, and he's the dog. Now, he has not been running as well since he had the little talk with his team owner and everybody, kind of did that whole thing. But let's go back to the Dover thing. Guess who finished second at Dover, led 98 laps, and was chasing down, Martin Truex Jr. at the end of that race? That was Ross Chastain.
It was. I tell you, I'm just liking Kyle Busch here. I just think this year Kyle is so much better. I think this is a racetrack that really, really suits him. He runs well on these kind of racetracks. And I just think he is in a much better position this year than he has been the last couple of years. I'm really going to kind of throw out his history here in the Cup car. I mean, he's a guy that look, he can race anything. We know he's good. And I just like the fact that you can even get him and he's not the favorite in this group.
That's a good point. He's not the favorite. It's 265, which is a good number. And we're leaving C. Bell out of this whole argument. C. Bell not a slouch here either. I mean, we should at least give a little bit of 2 top 10s for Christopher Bell at this place. So this is the group to me that I look at Ross Chastain though and say, man, he's finished second, and at the other track I think is like this one, second. And he's the dog. I mean, I'm getting the best number in there at 280.
Yeah, I like Bell too. I mean, look, this is a tough group. It really is. I'm feeling partial to Kyle Busch in this group, but it's look, and you mentioned it before we even started talking about these groups. We've got some interesting numbers. We got some tough matchups in the groups this week. It's going to be exciting to watch how the groups unfold during the course of the race on Sunday.
Let's get to Group C, and Group C kicks off with Ryan Blaney as your huge favorite at 225, Tyler Reddick 250, Kevin Harvick 280, and then Bubba Wallace 355. Blaney is the favorite for a reason, right? I mean, I talked about it a minute ago, him versus Kevin Harvick. But the only wild card here to me is Tyler Reddick. What Tyler Reddick's going to do has not had good races here in his 2 races here, average finish of 18. But I think that's kind of an anomaly for Tyler Reddick. He normally is really good at this place or at places like this. He's the type of guy like Kyle Larson that likes these things. Kevin Harvick to me at 280 or Ryan Blaney, I think that's a 2-man horse race. Then why would I pick the head-to-head? Why don't I just pick here and get a better return on either one of the guys?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I really like Blaney here. I just think this is a group that sets up well for him. I know he's the favorite. No big surprise there. Boy, that plus 355 on Bubba, and knowing how well Bubba has run this year on the 1.5 mile tracks, this is a little smaller at 1.3, but again, it's got some similarities. And, it's got a little similarity to Kansas, just a little bit shorter track, and we know how good he's been there. So that plus 355 on Bubba is intriguing just because he's been so much better this year on these type of racetracks. But I like Blaney.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at Dover and then the 2 races here. Bubba's been kind of not been his type of forte, let's just say.
But he's doing better this year.
He is.
He's been better this year.
Let's get to Group D real quick, and Group D kicks off with a huge favorite of Joey Logano, 155, Alex Bowman, 275, Brad Keselowski, 380, and Daniel Suarez, 380. That's enticement right there, Jeff.
Well, it is, and I think going after any of the bottom 3. I like Bowman here because I can get the plus 275. I would not touch Logano just because he's such a heavy favorite. Certainly those 380s are big, but I like the plus 275. I think that's a good number on Alex Bowman in this group.
Brad Keselowski finished 8th at Dover this year, led 8 laps, 4th in the stage.
We know who the pit crew's picking.
I may have to jump back on that with him. I may join him in the Brad Keselowski bandwagon there. All right, guys, when we come back, finish up the groups, our prop bets, and our picks.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
White flag is in the air one more time around. The Gone Racing show here with Brendan Gaughan hanging out with you, Jeff Motley in Nash Vegas. We're just finishing up our groups. We just were finishing up Group D where Brad Keselowski is plus 380. We know who the pit crew is going to be picking today with that number. Let's get into Group E real quick, Mr. Motley. And Group E leads off with the rookie. Ty Gibbs is your favorite at 235. Chris Buescher, 275. Austin Dillon, 285. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 295. I'm looking through stats. Chris Buescher, 9th place at Dover this year, right behind his teammate. That was one that I lost, by the way. Brad and Chris were in the same group at that race, and I wanted them flip-flopped. But Chris Buescher, 275. The wild card to me is that Ty Gibbs, who's been running very well lately. Has me a little concerned with how good he's been running. But I kind of like Chris Buescher in this.
Well, you know me. The guy that's probably got me more points this year than anybody's been Chris Buescher. I love Buescher in this group. The guy that, to me, that can be the wild card here is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. There's a guy, he's plus 295, and he clearly has run better this year than we've seen in a lot of years. He's stayed out of trouble. He's run everybody clean. He's run consistently. He's the kind of guy that could sneak in there on a big number. But, man, Chris Buescher, I love cashing checks with Chris Buescher.
No, he's cashed a lot of tickets for us over the years, and Stenhouse does have a top 10 here. He finished 6th in the very first year at this race, and then followed it up last year with a 16th. Not quite as good, but that team has been running better. So, there's just something about that Chris Buescher, man. He just does. I mean, we've talked about him since the very first year of Gone Racin. He cashes some tickets for us on this show. Group F, Eric Almirola, your favorite, 270. It's all co-favorites. 270, Chase Briscoe, 270, Ryan Preece, 270, Austin Cindric, 275. I was going to be really high on Eric Almirola just with what I saw from him in the past here, but that Austin Cindric number has me a little nervous. And then you throw the blanket over this group at all 270s. Not a lot of cheese to spread around there. It's all kind of one world. No,
but I think Eric Almirola should be the favorite. I really do. I mean, you mentioned how well he's done here, and Almirola runs well on these kind of tracks. So I know Cindric has that 7th place finish last year. I give him credit for that. But I like Almirola here.
I kind of do, but Cindric has me a little. I don't know. Chase Briscoe has not been showing it that they just need to figure something out over there at that Stewart-Haas group, other than just Kevin.
Well, I was going to say, you got 3 Stewart-Haas cars in this one. I think Almirola is the best of the 3, and I just don't have a lot of faith in Austin Cindric these days.
I thought for sure this would be the group that you guys would say, I don't want to touch. These might be the 4 most disappointing drivers this year.
Well, listen, that Stewart-Haas Racing, this is not Spire. This is not knocking Front Row and Spire and those guys. This is Stewart-Haas Racing in Group F, 3 of them with a Penske car. I mean, I'm eating crow for my worst pick of the season that I started off early with Martin Truex Jr. being the disappointment. But this right here is the disappointing group of the season right here. I mean, 3 Stewart-Haas cars and a Penske car, Group F. That is not what they were thinking they were going to do this season.
We're picking the best of the worst.
So this is the one that Wyatt, though, I'm like, I just look at and go, not enough spread. Each guy is underperforming. Every once in a while, one performs. Hard to pick which one. I don't like Group F this week. The manufacturer prop is up this week, and go figure. No shocker here. Chevy is minus 105 is your odds-on favorite. Toyota plus 190. Fords are plus 330. I would not be shocked at a Ford this week. I mean, I do think that Kevin Harvick, I do think that Joey Logano, I do think those 2 guys leading the charge. But that 190 in Toyota is not a bad return either.
No, it's not. I mean, obviously, there's no point in betting Chevrolet here.
105 is not minus 105. That's less than a straight juice bet, a 110. So I mean, it's not a bad number, honestly.
I agree with you, but I just think there's so many more opportunities that Toyota. I think Toyota and Ford's chances are a little bit more level this week with Chevy, and I think that getting those plus numbers would be worth it to you.
I don't disagree, but 105 is what was Chevy last couple weeks? 120 minus 125, I think, or something like that. One is 135 or 155 1 week. I mean,
all I know is Toyota was plus 300 last week, and I'm happy that Martin Truex Jr. brought it home. So
let's talk about last week then, since we can get to my favorite part of the show this season. That is how we've been doing week to week, and Mr. Motley, you absolutely you won the week. I will have to, but all of us had really good weeks last week. All of us were winners.
Not all of us had good weeks, I wouldn't say.
We didn't suck that bad.
Listen, for the pick crew, that's a good week. I mean, being only minus 0.2, that's a W for them.
The frustrating part with it was that we picked Ross Chastain over Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott gets the fuel strategy. I'm as high on Austin Cindric because, road racing and, he's been struggling this year. He was awful. I'm never picking him again. And I think we had Daniel Suarez, am I not mistaken?
Yep, top 3.
He misses a shift or, I don't know, got stuck in first gear in the first lap and lost 20 spots. So it was like anything that could go wrong went wrong.
Well, Suarez has a history of that on road courses lately.
And I also would like to point out that if it wasn't for Elliott doing this silly pit strategy, I would have won 4 out of my 5 bets. And I would have had a huge number because I had the same head-to-head you had. Plus, I had Kyle Larson. I had Larson and Chastain both over Elliott.
If some butts were candy nuts, oh, what a Merry Christmas it would be.
Yes, you're exactly right. And that's why we can't talk about that.
I got my Kyle Busch Group B. I got my Busch over Elliott. My Hamlin was a big disappointment there. AD definitely did not quite perform quite like I was expecting for my AD. And then Harvick. I said it when I picked him. A lot of heart in that Harvick pick.
At some point you might have to check your heart at the door and start using your head when it comes to Harvick.
Might have to at some point, but I don't know if I'm going to do it yet.
He'll surprise us at some point, like he did last year, winning 2 in a row. He won at Michigan and then somewhere else.
Yep.
So
right before the playoffs, he knocked his way into the playoffs real fast. So that was.
Yep.
But as we always do, we go from worst to first on this show. And after last year's season of me doing 3/4 of it from the first pick position, that honor goes to our friends mired in the basement, and that is Wyatt and the pit crew. Wyatt, please lead the way, sir.
All right, we had the week off to kind of refocus, re-energize. This has a little Isaiah flair to it. He liked Kyle Busch over William Byron plus 115. I was debating on the Chase Elliott plus 295 in Group A, but I just like the momentum that Truex has. I got him in Group A plus 290. Same thing I like what Kyle Busch has been doing this year with the consistency with the new team to win Group B plus 265. Tyler Reddick to win Group C at plus 250, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to win Group E plus 295. I was also debating the Chris Buescher one, but Isaiah was high on Stenhouse.
All right. And notice noticeably absent.
No, I'm not taking Brad until Atlanta. I'm already telling you, I'm taking Brad Keselowski at Atlanta to win. I'm building that one up.
Well, that is the earliest pick ever made in the history of this show. We've got to pick 2 weeks in advance. Brendan.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, I think he's leaving a lot of coin on the table there for old Brad Keselowski this race. But please, Mr. Motley, you get to go second though.
Based on that verbiage, I don't know who was more flummoxed. Brendan, about you not picking Keselowski, or Clint Boyer watching Denny Hamlin crash at the start-finish line at Sonoma. Okay, my picks. I'm going to go head-to-head. I'm taking Ryan Blaney over Denny Hamlin, speaking of the guy who misjudged turn 11 at Sonoma. And then the rest of mine are in the groups. I'm kind of putting a lot of eggs into the Blaney basket, so I'm taking Ryan Blaney in Group C. I'm going Alex Bowman in Group D, my man Chris Buescher in Group E, and Eric Almirola in Group F. And yes, it's killing me not to take Kyle Busch in Group B, and I have a feeling that one's going to come home to bite me.
All right, I've got scratches all over the place on mine this week. I'm torn. I have too many that I want. Can I make auxiliary?
Are you saying everything that you gave me during the break? I'm just going to have to go scribble it out now.
No.
Okay.
I've been sitting here debating. I'm going to go with a pick a winner, which I rarely do, but I'm picking a winner this week. Chase Elliott. I'm going to ride that horse because he's going to get a W before the playoffs happen. This is a place he's really good at. I'm taking Chase Elliott to win. I am going to put my money where my mouth is on them head-to-head bets. I am taking Kyle Busch over Kyle Larson, plus 135 in a head-to-head matchup with Kyle Busch. Too much coin there to be returned. I think Kyle Larson's going to win the race, but so many things happen to Kyle that are so odd that I'm going to jump on that. And then I'm going into the group matchups. I'm taking Martin Truex Jr. in Group A. We talked about it. To me, it's him and Elliott. I'm kind of hedging my bet there, Group A for him. I'm taking Ross Chastain in Group B. Those are 4. And then my last one, I had Buescher and Brad Keselowski circled. And just to make Wyatt happy, and I'm hoping it wins because that way I can just dig the pit crew again, I am taking Brad Keselowski at 380 in Group B.
Proud of you. I really, I hope you win that bet.
I appreciate that.
Wait a minute. In Group what? He's not in Group E. What group?
D. I said D. D as in Dumbo. D as in Dumbo.
Yeah, I'd probably use another word for me right now, but that's okay.
Group D. So, Mr. Motley, have fun in Nash Vegas this weekend. It's always a party down at the old Main Street down there, so don't get in too much trouble.
Chicago next week.
Going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys, next week, we'll see you breaking down Nash Vegas and Chicago.